October 15th, 1958. The Beverly Carlton Hotel in Los Angeles. Ella Fitzgerald, the greatest jazz singer in the world, was standing in the elegant lobby being told by the hotel manager that they had no available rooms despite her confirmed reservation. What happened next would become one of the most powerful displays of solidarity in entertainment history, because Doris Day, America's sweetheart, was watching from across the lobby. And what she witnessed that day would ignite a fury that would destroy the Beverly Carlton's reputation forever. This isn't just a story about racism in 1950s America. It's a story about what happens when moral courage meets star power, and why some injustices create the most unlikely but powerful alliances. Now, let me back up here and explain what was happening in Hollywood in 1958, because understanding the context makes Doris's response even more remarkable. The late 1950s were a complicated time for black performers in America. On one hand, artists like Ella Fitzgerald, Nat King Cole, and Harry Belafonte had achieved unprecedented mainstream success. Their records sold millions of copies, their concerts sold out, and their talents were undeniable. But success on stage didn't translate to equality off stage. You could be the most famous black performer in the world, but you still couldn't stay in certain hotels, eat in certain restaurants, or be treated with basic human dignity in many establishments, recalled civil rights historian Dr. Manning Marable. Ella Fitzgerald knew this reality better than most. Despite being universally acknowledged as the First Lady of Song, despite her albums topping charts and her concerts drawing standing ovations, she regularly faced discrimination when she traveled. Ella would sell out concert halls, then have to drive hours to find a hotel that would accept black guests, explained jazz historian Gary Giddens. It was the shameful contradiction of American entertainment. The Beverly Carlton Hotel was one of Los Angeles's most prestigious establishments. Located in Beverly Hills, it catered to Hollywood's elite movie stars, directors, producers, and musicians who could afford its expensive suites and exclusive atmosphere. The hotel had an unofficial but well-known policy. They welcomed white celebrities but found creative ways to exclude black performers, regardless of their fame or ability to pay. The Carlton had perfected the art of legal discrimination, observed former hotel industry insider Robert Chen. They never explicitly said no blacks allowed, but they always had reasons why black celebrities couldn't be accommodated. October 15, 1958, was supposed to be different. Ella Fitzgerald had a confirmed reservation at the Beverly Carlton. Her management had booked the suite weeks in advance, provided credit card information, and received written confirmation. Ella was in Los Angeles for a week-long engagement at the famous Mocambo nightclub. The Carlton was within walking distance of the venue, making it the perfect location for her stay. What Ella didn't know was that her management team had booked the room without mentioning that their client was black. When Ella arrived at the hotel that afternoon, accompanied by her accompanist and road manager, she expected the routine check-in process she experienced at progressive hotels in New York and Chicago. Instead, she found herself facing one of the most humiliating experiences of her career. Actually, let me tell you exactly what happened in that lobby, because witnessing this scene would change Doris Day's life and reshape her understanding of what it meant to use fame responsibly. Hotel manager Charles Whitman approached Ella with a practiced smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Miss Fitzgerald, I'm afraid we have a problem with your reservation." "What kind of problem?" Ella asked, though she suspected what was coming. "It appears there was an error in our booking system. The suite you reserved is no longer available, but I have a confirmation number and a deposit receipt." "Yes, well, sometimes our system makes mistakes. Unfortunately, we're completely booked for the next week." Ella's road manager, an experienced white man who had seen this routine before, stepped forward. "Mr. Whitman, let me be very clear. Miss Fitzgerald is one of the most successful recording artists in America. She has a confirmed paid reservation. Are you telling me that this hotel has no rooms available for her?" Whitman's smile became more forced. "I'm saying that we have a very exclusive clientele with very specific expectations about the atmosphere we maintain." The meaning was crystal clear, even though the words carefully avoided explicit racism. What none of them noticed was that Doris Day had entered the lobby during this conversation. Doris was staying at the Carlton while filming Pillow Talk with Rock Hudson. She had come downstairs to meet friends for dinner when she heard the conversation between Ella and the hotel manager. At first, Doris didn't understand what was happening. She recognized Ella immediately. Everyone in the entertainment industry knew and respected the First Lady of Song. But as the conversation continued, the truth became horrifyingly clear. "Miss Fitzgerald," Whitman was saying, "I'm sure there are other establishments that would be more suitable for someone of your background." That's when Doris Day walked over to the desk. "Excuse me," Doris said in her famous sweet voice. "Did I just hear correctly? Are you refusing to honor Miss Fitzgerald's reservation?" Whitman immediately recognized Doris and his demeanor changed completely. "Miss Day, what a pleasure to see you. No, we're not refusing anything. We're simply explaining that we have a booking error." "A booking error?" Doris's voice remained sweet, but there was steel underneath. "For Ella Fitzgerald, the most talented singer in America." Ella, surprised by this unexpected support from America's sweetheart, tried to defuse the situation. "Miss Day, it's quite all right. These things happen. I'll find accommodations elsewhere." "No," Doris said firmly, turning to face Whitman directly. "These things don't just happen. Mr. Whitman, I want you to explain to me exactly why the Beverly Carlton Hotel cannot accommodate Miss Fitzgerald when she has a confirmed reservation." The lobby had gone quiet. Other guests were watching the confrontation between America's sweetheart and the hotel management. Whitman was trapped. He couldn't admit the real reason without exposing the hotel's discriminatory policy, but he couldn't provide a legitimate explanation either. "Miss Day, this is really a private matter between the hotel and Miss Fitzgerald." "No, it's not private anymore. You're discriminating against one of the most respected artists in the world, and you're doing it in front of me and everyone else in this lobby. Don't forget to comment below and let us know what other inspiring stories of celebrity courage you'd like to hear about." What Doris Day did next would become legendary in both the civil rights movement and entertainment history. "Mr. Whitman, let me make something very clear to you. If Ella Fitzgerald cannot stay at this hotel, then neither can I." The lobby went completely silent. "Miss Day, surely you don't mean—" "I mean exactly what I said. I'm canceling my reservation. I'm checking out today, and I'm never setting foot in this hotel again as long as you maintain discriminatory policies." Ella was stunned. She had never seen a white performer, especially one as beloved as Doris Day, risk their own comfort and convenience to support a black artist. "Doris, you don't need to do this for me," Ella said quietly. "I'm not doing this for you, Ella. I'm doing this because it's right, and because if this hotel thinks they can treat you with disrespect, then they don't deserve the business of anyone who believes in basic human decency." But Doris was just getting started. She turned to address the other guests who had gathered to watch the confrontation. "Ladies and gentlemen, I want everyone here to understand what just happened. The Beverly Carlton Hotel just refused to honor a reservation for Ella Fitzgerald, one of the greatest artists of our time, for one reason and one reason only." She paused, letting the implication hang in the air. "This hotel practices racial discrimination. They welcome white celebrities, but find excuses to exclude black performers. And anyone who continues to patronize this establishment is supporting that discrimination." The effect was immediate and devastating. Several guests in the lobby recognized both women and began whispering among themselves. Word spread quickly through the hotel that Doris Day had just publicly accused the Beverly Carlton of racism. Whitman was panicking. Losing Doris Day's business was bad enough, but having her publicly condemn the hotel's practices could destroy their reputation. "Miss Day, perhaps we can work something out. I'm sure we can find accommodations for Miss Fitzgerald." "Too late," Doris said coolly. "You've shown your true character, Mr. Whitman, and now everyone knows what kind of establishment this really is." Doris turned to Ella. "Miss Fitzgerald, would you like to stay at the Beverly Hills Hotel? I know the management there, and I can guarantee you'll be treated with the respect you deserve." "I would be honored," Ella replied, deeply moved by Doris's support. As both women left the Beverly Carlton together, Doris was already planning the next phase of her response. "Ella," she said, as they waited for their cars, "I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to make sure everyone in Hollywood knows what happened here today. Are you sure you want to get involved in this? It could affect your career." Doris looked at Ella with complete sincerity. "Ella, you're one of the most talented people I've ever heard. You've brought joy to millions of people through your music. If standing up for you affects my career, then I don't want that career." What happened next proved that Doris Day understood how to use star power for social justice. That evening, Doris began making phone calls to every major figure in the entertainment industry: directors, producers, fellow actors, musicians, agents, anyone with influence in Hollywood. But she didn't just tell them what had happened, she asked them to take action. "I'm calling to let you know that the Beverly Carlton Hotel practices racial discrimination against black performers," Doris would say. "They just refuse to honor Ella Fitzgerald's reservation, and I think it's important that everyone in our industry knows about their policies." The response was immediate and overwhelming. When Doris Day calls you and tells you that a hotel is discriminating against Ella Fitzgerald, you listen, recalled director George Stevens. Everyone loved Ella, and everyone respected Doris for taking a stand. Within 48 hours, over 30 major stars had canceled reservations at the Beverly Carlton. Directors moved their cast and crew to other hotels. Production companies found alternative accommodations for visiting executives. "It was like a dam had burst," explained former Hollywood agent Irving Lazar. "Once Doris opened the floodgates, everyone wanted to show their support for Ella and their opposition to discrimination. But Doris wasn't finished. She contacted gossip columnists Hedda Hopper and Luella Parsons, making sure the story reached the widest possible audience. Doris gave us the story of the year," Parsons recalled years later. "America's sweetheart taking on racial discrimination was front-page material. The story appeared in newspapers across the country. Doris Day defends Ella Fitzgerald against hotel discrimination." The public response was overwhelmingly supportive of both women. Readers loved that Doris had used her fame to fight injustice, explained former Los Angeles Times entertainment editor Charles Champlin. "It showed a side of America's sweetheart that people had never seen before." The Beverly Carlton Hotel was facing a public relations nightmare. Major newspapers were reporting on their discriminatory practices. Hollywood's biggest stars were boycotting their establishment. Their phones were ringing constantly with cancellations and complaints. Within a week, the hotel's occupancy rate had dropped by 60%. The Carlton went from being one of the most prestigious hotels in Los Angeles to being known as the place that discriminated against Ella Fitzgerald, observed hospitality industry historian Richard Melman. Hotel management tried damage control, issuing a statement claiming that the incident was a misunderstanding and that they welcomed guests of all races. But it was too late. The damage was done. The boycott organized by Doris Day had exposed the Carlton's practices and made them a symbol of everything wrong with discrimination in the entertainment industry. More importantly, the incident had created a powerful friendship between two of America's greatest entertainers. Ella Fitzgerald and Doris Day remained close friends for the rest of their lives. They frequently appeared together at charity events, civil rights fundraisers, and musical celebrations. That day at the Beverly Carlton changed both of them, observed music historian Will Friedwald. Ella saw that she had allies among white performers, and Doris discovered her power to create change. The Beverly Carlton Hotel never recovered from the boycott. Their reputation was permanently damaged, and they struggled to attract high-profile guests. Within 3 years, the hotel was sold and converted to office space. The Carlton became a cautionary tale, explained former hotel industry executive Robert Mondavi. It showed what could happen when discrimination met organized opposition from powerful people. But the most lasting impact of the incident was on the entertainment industry itself. Other hotels and venues, seeing what had happened to the Carlton, began quietly changing their discriminatory practices rather than risk similar boycotts. Doris Day's response to the Carlton incident sent a message throughout Hollywood, observed civil rights historian Taylor Branch. It showed that discrimination against black performers would no longer be tolerated by their white colleagues. Years later, when asked about the incident, Doris Day was characteristically modest. "I just did what any decent person would do," she said. Ella Fitzgerald is not just a great artist, she's a great human being. Standing up for her wasn't heroic, it was basic human decency. But Ella Fitzgerald never forgot what Doris had done for her. "Doris Day changed my life that day," Ella said in a 1985 interview. "Not because she got me a hotel room, but because she showed me that I wasn't alone. She proved that people of good conscience would stand together against injustice." The day the Beverly Carlton Hotel refused service to Ella Fitzgerald became the day America's sweetheart revealed her true strength. It wasn't the sweetness that made Doris Day legendary, it was her willingness to use her power for justice. October 15, 1958. Two women, two different backgrounds, united by music and moral courage. By the end of that day, one hotel's reputation was destroyed, and a friendship was born that would last a lifetime. Doris Day proved that being America's sweetheart meant more than just being nice. Sometimes it meant being brave, sometimes it meant taking risks, sometimes it meant using your voice for people who needed to be heard. Ella Fitzgerald got more than a hotel room that day. She got a friend who was willing to sacrifice her own comfort for justice, and America got a reminder that real stars shine brightest when they light the way for others. The Beverly Carlton Hotel refused to serve the First Lady of Song. America's sweetheart made sure they paid the price. Some battles are worth fighting, some friendships are worth defending, and some moments define not just who you are, but who you choose to be. Doris Day chose to be someone who stood up for what was right, even when it wasn't easy, even when it wasn't safe, even when it wasn't expected. That's what made her more than just America's sweetheart. That's what made her an American hero. And that's why some stories never get old, because courage never goes out of style, neither does standing up for your friends, or using your power to make the world a little more fair, a little more just, a little more worthy of the people who make it beautiful, people like Ella Fitzgerald, and people like Doris Day, who prove that sometimes the sweetest thing you can do is fight for what's right.